know.
This is about the Quran.
He said we know. Yet he spoke for 5 minutes and he didn't give a shred of evidence for why we know. So I'm going to give you another chance. What do we know and what's the evidence for it?
So, with respect to the Quran,
again,
the Quran
did you see that?
Is silent.
Did you see that?
As acknowledged by Adnan.
To be fair.
Well, let me give you one example from the Quran.
Do you see why he's worried? Why he's worried?
Geographical point.
Why is he worried? Why is he worried?
Comparison.
No, you're talking over
me
now.
So allow me to finish my point.
Yes, you will.
He's worried.
All right.
Look, this is a sign of a worried person.
No, I'm not.
Because he said, we know, and then he changed to the Quran.
Okay.
He changed to the Quran.
It's unnatural for me to raise my voice.
I let him speak for 5 minutes.
All right.
And he hasn't made any shred of evidence in his favor.
Wait. We started the conversation. You said you're a scientist, you're not a theologian.
Yes.
So okay, no problem. Then you brought. Wait. When we started the discussion on Adam and his creation and his location, his geography.
Yes.
You said the Quran is silent on that.
You acknowledge that.
Wait, relax.
Yes.
Then you brought in science, and then you said we know.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. You said we know.
Yes.
Then came the scientist. Here we have a scientist.
Yes.
He's asking you, what do you know? And what is the evidence? Can you now explain?
The Out of Africa model is the current consensus among paleontologists and anthropologists.
Okay.
I'm in the field of astronomy.
Okay.
That is not particularly my field.
Okay.
If that is your field,
one sec.
If that is your field, all well and good. But I can assure you that what the consensus is that humans come from Africa. The Human Genome Project even demonstrates that in 2010. And with respect to the Quran, the acknowledgement that there's a silence in regards to the geography, like the location and so on. In comparison, what I'm saying is, how interesting the Quran names specifically the mountain which Noah's Ark lands, Mount Kudi, but it does not give the location for where Adam lands and where human migrations go and so on.
Right.
Like, where is Abraham located?
Right now,
you're Moses located?
Okay. Can I respond now?
Era?
Okay, can I respond now?
The Quran is silent on all these details. But yet it picks and chooses to say things like Mount Kudi for the Noah's Ark.
I know you really want to talk about the Quran and not justify what you said previously about we know. So let me just explain to you what knowledge is. Knowledge, I'm going to define as this in these following 3 parts. True justified belief. Do you agree with that definition?
True justified belief. That's a little bit oxymoronic, but
that is the definition of Aristotle, and that definition has been used for over 2,000 years. Oxymoronic. How is it oxymoronic? Go ahead and explain to me.
How do you apply belief in science?
Okay, so that's a separate question about epistemology. Do you see what's happening now? You said we know. I heard you say we know. That's why I interrupted the conversation. And since we interrupted the conversation, you want to talk about something else. But let's go back to what we know. So you're saying you know when Adam existed.
All right.
Where did he exist?
Okay. I would argue that Adam...
No, you would argue. You said you know.
I would argue...
Okay.
Don't worry.
I would argue that Adam is not the first man. I would argue that if I'm looking at the Genesis account chronologically, you have a placement of the humans in chapter 1 in a sequel sort of context in chapter 2 to the east. I would say that the Adam and Eve personage are located in the Persian Gulf because of the very specific 4 rivers mentioned there. Geographically, anthropologists will say that also comports with the cultural memory of the ancient Near East, that you have what's called the Adapa myth and so on, and they all correspond to that location. Prior to that, we have fossil evidence that goes into what's called a out of Africa model, and the fossil evidence shows a monogenesis of humans, not a polygenesis of humans.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't categorically show that. That is an assumption. Give me the evidence for that, because the more I'm hearing you talk, I can see you have surface level knowledge of this. You're saying humans only originated, and we know they only originated in one location. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, what's the evidence for that?
The evidence is what I just laid out.
No, that was not evidence. That was a model. What is the evidence that is the only? What is the evidence that that's the only origin? No, wait a second. You're the one who claims we know.
What other models are there?
Look how long you were speaking for, and when I'm responding to you, no. Because look, this is a standard way that evolutionists respond to their critique. They say, what is your model, when I'm questioning them about the model that they have. I am not the one who claimed to have a model. I'm the one who challenged the model that you have. Now, the other claim that you made, which I think is completely absurd, you said Adam is not the first man.
Yes.
That goes against the biblical account of creation.
No, it does not.
Yes, it does.
No, it does not.
Now he's going against the Bible. He's saying Adam's not the first man.
No, it does not.
You know, Jay Smith would have refuted you there and
Jay
then.
Smith would have hanged you from the same tree you were just standing on. No, he would have.
No, he wouldn't have.
Jay Smith in the 19th century,
No.
with his Mormon hat, he would have hanged you if you were in what's the territory? Utah, yeah, in Salt City.
Are you,
his name is, by the way, his name
wait.
is Joseph Henry Smith. He's named after Joseph Smith.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the medallion of a black man chained up and underneath the slogan, "Am I not a man and a brother"?
Yes, I collect them. I have them.
Do you know who made that? Redwood.
Wait.
On taxes.
Stay here. Now, from science, he is now jumped into history.
No, I have not.
That's why I have to come in the middle now. Wait. He just made a claim that medallion, "Am I not a man and a brother?" Okay, was made by one of the associates of Darwin, Charles Darwin.
No, prior to Darwin, but he used that.
How long?
It's falling apart.
A couple of decades prior.
Brother, please do not embarrass yourself.
I'm not embarrassed.
No, wait, relax.
Go look it up.
Let me finish.
Darwin used that in his tax receipts.
Yes, Darwin may have used it, and I'm not talking about that. The medallion, by the way, not to show off my collection. Okay.
If they interrupt, trust me, you will never have a peace discussion. Wallah, I said, listen, GodLogic behavior. If you interrupt
Brother, can you go around the
we
corner?
know how to do with that, yeah?
I'm here, Sharad.
We know how to do it. Fix your behavior, trust me. Fix your behavior, yeah?
Can you go the other way?
Fix your behavior, mister. Fix your behavior,
Okay, carry on.
So, have an intervention.
Relax.
We are in a conversation. Look at this. We're in a conversation.
I swear.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, brother, please. We not only find these Christian missionaries coming to the park for the last 3-4 decades, we not only find them ignorant about the Bible, they are ignorant about most things in life. About science, they are false. They make claims about history, they are false. Islam, they are false. They make claims about the Bible, they are false. Now, he made a claim, and they're going to send hecklers to disturb me. This is their new tactic. Send hecklers, don't let them speak, so that the truth doesn't come out. But the truth can never be hidden.
Yes.
So the medallion he mentioned, although it's a minor detail, but it's an important point. Why is it important? I want to demonstrate these people, with due respect, are neither experts on the Bible, nor on science, nor on history, nor on Adnan Rashid. Okay? Okay. So now, this person made a claim that the medallion was introduced or made by an associate of Charles Darwin. I possess these medallions in my personal collection. I'm a coin collector. And they were introduced in the 18th century, almost 100 years before Darwin was born. Okay?
There we go.
Wait. So it's a minor detail, but again, it's an important one. This is to demonstrate these people, just like he walked away from the Bible, and then he walked away from science when Sabur came in, and now he's walking.
Okay, so so I just want to add something. The reason he mentioned that is to show that Darwin was against slavery. That's why he mentioned it.
Slavery and racism.
But that is not true. I'm going to refer to Darwin's work, The Descent of Man.
Please.
And in The Descent of Man, Darwin referred to non-white people as savages. And today, what do we have?
Savages.
What do we have? We have Darwin being responsible for the most heinous type of racism that ever existed. This is a historian by the name of Richard Whiteheart, and he wrote a book. He wrote a book from Darwin to Hitler, and in that book he justified that there is a historical link between social Darwinism and what the Nazis did. Likewise, the Zionist historian Yuval Noah Harari, in his book *Sapiens*, he speaks about the fact that Darwinism led to what the Nazis were doing. And again, what do we find? We find Darwin's, my friend, you. Wait, one second, brother, please stop. You are a black man. Darwin is calling you. Darwin was a racist. Darwin was a racist. One second. Darwin was a racist. I am attacking Darwin, and he is defending Darwin.
What they're doing is,
as a black man,
Be quiet. 1 second. 2 for 1.
All right, can I reply?
No, wait.
Darwin!
Wait.
Darwin should never be defended by black people. Darwin should never be defended.
Now, wait. You see, these people are not sincere. When he mentioned the term black man, they started screaming and shouting. And they don't want to listen to his point. His point was that to Darwin, you are savages.
Yes, that's the point.
Yeah, that was the point.
And you're defending Darwin.
So now we're gonna ignore these shills.
2 for 1.
Okay.
I would like to make a
Okay, before you do that, let me complete this point. What's your name again?
Robert.
I spoke to Robert on a live stream a few years ago, and I remember him clearly.
A few months.
A few months ago. Robert is mentioning Darwin with the intention to show that Darwin cared about black people or cared about slaves. Darwin was a racist.
No, he was not.
Darwin would consider you to be a savage,
he was not.
and you to be a savage, and for me to be a savage. Darwin wrote in The Descent of Man. I want to say something.
Come back here.
Darwin wrote in The Descent of Man.
You don't need to shout.
He wrote that the white people are the most superior. And he justified colonialism.
Yes.
Colonialism.
And the
So
colonial.
I am shocked.
I
am shocked that people of color are willing to defend Darwin.
Don't scream.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait. Now for a Christian to bring up Darwin in this conversation
Let me also give a
shows,
response.
yes, you will. 1 second. Shows how ignorant he is about Darwin. Charles Darwin was not only a racist. Charles Darwin was used by colonial powers to subdue, to massacre, to kill, to genocide non-white races in Africa, in Asia, and in Latin America. Darwin's theory was used to claim white superiority over non-white races. This is very visibly put down in his book, Descent of Man. Darwin said in Descent of Man that white race is more developed than the non-white races. He was trying to scientifically justify racism, which the colonial powers used, and which basically, and all these Christians, missionaries here, they are all a product of colonialism. All of these Christian missionaries, every single one of them, all Christian missionaries are a product, and we are still fighting an intellectual battle against these people. These proponents of racism, colonialism, and they still hold on to these values. This guy just mentioned Darwin as if he's some noble character.
Absolutely. One last thing I want to mention. One last thing I want to mention.
I would like to get
in this book, Darwin's Sacred Cause, written by Moore and Desmond. Here's what he says. Here's what academics are saying. Academics are saying about this. This book is what it says. By biologizing colonial eradication consequence. Darwin was making racial extinction an inevitable evolutionary consequence. So what we have here is this.
They can make as much noise as possible. They are disturbed. They are actually disturbed that they are getting smashed. These Christian missionaries are getting smashed, and they are getting disturbed now. So we want to put a case forward so that he can respond to it. Okay, so now you can. Now he's gonna.
Every Christian come here. Pastors, priests,
All right, we are ignoring them. We are ignoring. Let them be ignored.
All right.
That's why Jesus calls them dogs and swines.
We're not going to be bullied by noise. We're not going to be bullied by noise. We're the last people you can bully.
Here's something for your thing to ski. Anybody wants to watch?
Huh?
This is what Darwin thought of you, right there.
Yeah.
This is what Darwin thought.
All right.
This is a picture endorsed by Darwin.
I know. I'm aware of that.
Speak now.
Here you go.
Now,
For your audience.
I recommend everyone get yourself a book. It's an Oxford publication book in 2009 by Desmond and Moore. These two particular individuals are the world-renowned historians on Darwin's. Keep discovering letters and correspondence that Darwin had. Interesting. In 1726, are we not all of one blood? To show that there's a monogenesis between blacks and whites. That's why he went on the voyage, to look for a variation of the same species of bird.
Where did he go? Where did he go on the voyage?
Despite the variation.
Where did he go?
Despite the variation.
Where did he go?
Despite the variation.
Where did he go?
That doesn't matter.
Wait, one second.
That does not
He's
matter.
talking about Darwin, and he doesn't know where Darwin went.
Does not matter.
There is a point in this. It is important.
Okay, wait one second.
Fine.
मैं उसी की किताब इस्तेमाल.
That does not matter. This particular work is called Darwin's Cause.
Yes.
Let him speak.
Let him speak.
We want this guy to speak more so that we have more. So we have more.
You have nothing. There's a book called, it's standing now, it's called Darwin's Sacred Cause. The sacred cause is because he was influenced by the Genesis account about the unity of mankind regardless of race and color. And now here's the irony. At Darwin's home, he had a beautiful big oak tree. In celebration of his death, a few years after his death, black men could become bishops of a church, and they acknowledged, because of Darwin, that they had the freedom to be Christian bishops, and also they could experience education. And people like Dave and Avery are doing a wonderful job demonstrating that they have the same intelligence as white men.
Okay, are you done?
That's Darwin's argument.
Are you done?
That's what the book argues for. And other scholars like Joshua Moretz, which is what I was going to quote from, argue for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Now the Quran says...
Okay, wait. Let me respond to that point. That point.
The Quran says... no problem. Don't worry. The Quran says...
So the Quran...
Yeah. Oh, wait. Can you be quiet? We don't need you. We don't need you. Shut up. Get out. Wait.
So now, in regards to Islam and the Quran...
This guy's bitter because we refuse to talk to him.
Okay, go on. Karen, let me
So in regards to Islam and the Quran, you believe that Adam is 60 cubits or 60 foot?
Don't worry. You continue your claim.
Or something like that?
You continue your claim.
All of these are borrowed tales from the Midrash and the Genesis Rabbah and the life of Adam and Eve, Iblis prostrating and so on. The Quran is plagiarizing legends. And that's why the Quran is A, scientific and A, historical. That was my point with Jay Smith.
Okay, fine.
Brilliant.
Let me use...
Relax. Comfortably.
So you used a book called Darwin's Sacred Cause by Adrian Desmond and James Moore. This is what the book says, the very same book on page 149.
So he used a scholar to make a claim about Darwin. He's going to read from the same scholar. Listen to what he has to say.
Page 149 to 150. By biologizing colonial eradication, Darwin was making racial extinction an inevitable evolutionary consequence. What he doesn't want to do is tell you the truth about Darwin's racist nature. He wants to cherry pick. Now something I want to say which is agreed upon. Even Richard Dawkins agrees that Charles Darwin had racist ideas. And Richard Dawkins is a proponent of Darwinism. Now, I want to make one picture very clear. This is a picture which I used. Darwin believed in the racial hierarchy of man. He believed white people were the most superior, black people were the most inferior, and Asians and other races, they're somewhere in between. Ernst Haeckel was one of Darwin's contemporaries, and he drew a picture of human beings with the Asians being at the top and slowly turning into Native Americans, Indians, Chinese, Japanese. Black people, according to Ernst Haeckel, were the closest to the chimpanzee because they were the least evolved and developed and the ones with the least cognitive faculties. Ernst Haeckel actually made an image. He actually made an image for this race, this biological race that he wanted to show. Darwin actually acknowledged that this race, this chart, is actually something good. He actually referred to it as something good. And in you find is white people are right at the top and right at the bottom are black people. On top of that, Darwin used a colonial argument which he wants to run away from. Darwin said, an evidence that white people are superior, and especially white UK people, British people, Victorian British people are superior is because they are the best at colonization. What he wants to run away from.
Survival of the fittest.
What he wanted to run away from.
Survival of the fittest.
What he wants to run away from as well is this. According to Darwin, that man there and me are inferior savages, and he, who is a Caucasian, is superior. Now, I have one last thing to say.
Yeah.
And I would like to...
Is it,
yeah, you can.
Is
you
it,
can.
is it a coincidence that Darwin and yourself happen to be of the same race, which according to theory, according to the Darwinian theory, happen to be the most evolved? Is it just a coincidence that those who claim to be correct in the theory are also claiming their race is the most superior? This is why black people, Asian people, Japanese people, Chinese people, Indian people faced racism for decades because of Darwin's theory, and that is a part of history that he wants to whitewash.
And yeah, before you come in, very quickly, I was just gonna, now, ladies and gentlemen, we heard that Darwin was one of the main sources used by colonial powers to colonize, to subdue, to brutalize and enslave non-white races in Africa and in Asia and in Latin America. Okay, the reason why I asked him where did Darwin go on his voyage, and he didn't have an answer because he doesn't know, is because when he mentioned the black people with the voyage, there is no connection because Darwin went to Ecuador. In Ecuador, there were Native Americans, not blacks. That was an important detail I wanted to mention. So this person is clearly arguing with us ignorantly. He doesn't know the details. On top of that, racism. He's saying black people can now be ministers of churches. They can preach. Since when? Since when is the question? Who brutalized the black people? For 400 years in the name of the Bible, they're not going to let me speak because they are intellectually enslaved. They're not going to let me speak. They are intellectually enslaved. They're not going to let me speak. Let me tell you the history. The white people, Europeans, and Americans. Let me teach you history now. Let me teach you some history of slavery and how.
Like a long
will.
while? I have a long...
I will not stop. I will not stop. Keep shouting. I will not stop. So now I will have to finish before Rob comes
I'm
in.
watching here. I'm watching the
Now,
misbehavior.
now they don't want to hear this. They don't want to. This is antiseptic.
I'm standing here.
This is antiseptic. Now,
Relax your mind. Listen and learn.
he had an audacity. This white man standing here had an audacity to claim that we made the black people pastors and preachers and they can preach in the churches. Now wait. For 400 years. For 400 years, Europeans, the French, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the British were picking up Africans for 400 years. They were taking them to the Americas. They were putting them into slavery, brutalizing them. Wait, relax. I know this is antiseptic. Guys, what I am saying is antiseptic. It hurts. Even these guys is hurting them. Even though, wait, don't argue, brother. Don't argue with them. Please, you're disturbed. Let me talk. Yeah, I'm doing the talking for you. Wait. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Don't engage with them. That's what they want.
This has been
Brother, don't engage with them.
10 minutes of transparency.
I'm finishing. You're gonna come in.
And
I promise.
I will have a
We will,
one-on-one.
absolutely.
Okay.
You will speak.
All right.
Yeah. Like now.
Don't forget
Now,
I'm a guest in
now-
the UK.
Okay, no problem. So Rob, who is from Australia, I want to see when was the last time he stood up for the rights of the Aboriginals, the black Aboriginals of Australia. Wait. I want to see when he did a public campaign for the rights of the Aborigines who are being brutalized to this day in ghettos, drugged up, being killed by alcoholism and deprived of their basic rights. The land belongs to them. Rob and his ancestors stole that land from the blacks by using Darwin's theory.
Yes.
By using Darwin's theory. Now, Rob, you come.
Wait.
Are you listening? Are you listening?
Adnan, are you from India?
I am from Pakistan.
Okay, I'm from Hyderabad.
Okay.
So I'm not connected to the whole cause of the
Are you not Australian?
No. I'm from
Are
Hyderabad.
you not white?
No, I'm from Hyderabad.
Are you not white?
No.
Maybe I'm colorblind.
Are you saying that because he looks
He's white.
I'm Indian.
You are ethnically Indian.
Yeah.
Your ancestors are
My
white.
mom's parents.
What's your name? Your full name?
Robert Crow.
Robert. His name is Robert Patel. Is it Robert Patel?
No, he said Robert Rowe.
Robert Rowe. Are you? Wait, guys, don't make noise. Don't make noise. The guy's talking to you.
Relax.
I want to find out if this is Robert Singh, Robert Patel, Robert Khan. What are you?
I'm a Robert Crow.
So okay. So what background do you come
So
from?
I'm an Anglo-Indian.
Anglo-Indian.
You get it now.
But I have nothing to do
Okay.
with the Aborigine cause.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
But you live in Australia.
I currently live in Australia.
Since when?
Since 97.
You were born where?
In Hyderabad.
Hyderabad. Okay. So
I still make biryani.
So do you agree? Okay, no. Fine.
Dude,
No, fine.
let me
Do you
finish my
agree?
answer.
Do you agree on record that Aborigines have been brutalized by or through Darwin's theory?
Like this
We
guy
have
here.
evidence. We have evidence. We're going to show you the evidence that the white people.
It's not even connected to
Wait.
Islam and all that.
Well, you started
Let
it.
me-
Start with
Give
You
my
started.
response.
give your response. Start
Let
here.
me give my response.
Twice. Use
Let me
this.
give my response.
Go on, give it.
Okay.
Today we have some. Today.
He has this picture to explain.
All right.
Yeah, go on, Karen speaking.
This is
Give my response.
Darwin's chart.
You ready?
Darwin's chart.
You ready?
Yeah.
Here's my response.
We are fair.
He misquoted Desmond and Moore's Darwin's Sacred Cause book. I have written a summary about this through a friend of mine called Josh M. Moritz.
Okay.
He is a science historian along with another science academic, an Australian academic called Peter Harrison. Christian Europe was the forefront of the modern scientific revolution. Now, what I'm going to, because you've spoken both at length, there's only one page length. I'm going to read this out as a summary of the key points of the book, and you can make a conclusion. So, in the context of the abolitionist faith in the Adamic unity of humanity and the roots of Darwinian evolution, Moritz and I summarize the book in this way.
So this is you writing?
With Moritz.
Yes?
Yes.
So you're quoting yourself?
It's part of the argument. It's part of the argument.
So he's quoting himself in a debate against us.
It is part of the argument. It is part of the argument. This is a 2015 paper.
Listen, if he's going to read Harry Potter to me, you want me to be quiet?
All right.
1 minute, 40 seconds, maybe.
So, here we go. There's two contexts here. The abolitionist faith, and then specifically about the changing scientific tide for a unity of the humans. So, here we go. The central faith assumption and philosophical presupposition that inspired and motivated Darwin's scientific work was a concept of the unity of humanity. This view, called monogenism, affirmed that all present human diversity stemmed from a common source and that all races were historically united in a single, quote, this is Darwin's language, brotherhood of man. From the start, Darwin was transfixed by the idea of human unity as it related to the question of human origins. From where did Darwin's unwavering belief in the unity of humanity derive? The notion of human unity, along with the corresponding rejection of slavery, was a key element of Darwin's family heritage. Darwin grew up within a family that was deeply committed to the movement to abolish slavery, which was led by...
No, continue. Let him continue. Please continue.
Which was led by evangelical Christians such as William Wilberforce and Thomas Clarkson. Clarkson's work in particular was supported and financed by Darwin's grandfather, Josiah Wedgwood. Indeed, Wedgwood himself designed the official seal of the abolitionist movement, an image depicting an African slave on one knee, shackled hand and foot, with eyes and hands pointing heavenward, pleading, "Am I not a man and a brother?" To help promote the abolitionist cause, Wedgwood produced thousands of copies of the seal on pottery and on ceramic medallions at his own expense for distribution throughout British and American society. Quote, this is in the book, "Belief in Adam, the father of mankind, was solid and the theological premise of anti-slavery," unquote. And this central faith-inspired conviction was firmly anchored in the worldview of young Charles. Quote, "Adamic unity and the brotherhood of man were axiomatic in the anti-slavery tracts that he and his family devoured and distributed. It implied a single origin for black and white, a shared ancestry." Now, here's the conclusion of this paper. At the time when Darwin was conducting his research, which is what I was getting at a moment ago, the notion of monogenism, as opposed to polygenism, was almost as scientifically controversial as the concept of evolution. Monogenists were typically religiously devout abolitionists and evangelical Christians who upheld a single origin for all known races of humanity for the sake of preserving the integrity of Scripture. In the opinion of the scientific establishment of the day, monogenesis was tainted as antiquated religious dogma. By the atheists, mind you. Consequently, the anthropological authorities of the mid-19th century carried the notion of human unity in a common ancestor and widely dismissed it as myth. The alternative to monogenism that was in vogue among anthropologists and biologists at the time was a view called polygenism, which is why Darwin had that particular wording that you were citing as part of his discussion in refuting it. Polygenists held that various human races were in reality different species with separate origins that never converged upon a common ancestor and perhaps even went back eternally. In Darwin's day, it was broadly understood that, quote from the book, modern science supported polygenesis and that empirically objective,
Allahu Akbar,
dispassionate and fearless exegesis of the rocks and tombs obviously pointed to a separate black and white ancestry. Now here's where the rubber hits the road. When Darwin thus enlisted his keen scientific mind to the aid of the monogenesis cause, he was going deeply against the scientific tide of his day. Darwin's understanding of human unity flew in the face of the world's scientific authorities. Quote, the unity was an article of faith for Darwinites, a dogma as unfounded as the Parsons' belief in Adam and Eve, as per the atheist charge that there was no Adam and Eve. As Darwin developed his views on evolution from a common ancestor, he offered traditional scriptural monogenesis, quote, a deeper unity, a more humble theology, and more spectacular evolutionary. Now,
is it published?
It's published. Now, in conclusion,
Yes.
an atheist biologist by the name of Edward O. Wilson, his reaction to Darwin's work is this. It's a short quote. So Edward O. Wilson, by the way, he's even more, let's say, Richard Dawkins. The great naturalist Charles Darwin did not abandon Abrahamic and other religious dogma because of his discovery of evolution by natural selection, as one might reasonably suppose. The reverse occurred. The shedding of blind faith gave him the intellectual fearlessness to explore human evolution wherever logic and evidence took him. So here's an atheist biologist saying that Darwin agreed with the Abrahamic faith, in this case, the unity of humanity. And he was fearless about it because he was going against the tide of the racism of his day. Otherwise, why would he be fearless?
Okay.
If he was part of the same.
So what's your...
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're done?
no,
You're
wait.
finished?
Can I just
That's
get
a summary of
Okay.
the book.
Okay, fine.
good.
Do you
Thank
agree
you.
this is monogenesis?
No, that's polygenesis.
Darwin agreed with this picture. This is actually a picture of Ernst
You're
Haeckel.
showing me a stock image.
No, this is Ernst. Anybody can check this out. Anybody can check this out. Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Wait. I'm going to let you respond. Okay, 1 second. 1 second. This is monogenesis. This is monogenesis. The reason why this is monogenesis is because there is one origin of man. There is one origin of man. Secondly, he said something about the same book, and he didn't actually refer to the points I made earlier. When I referred to Richard Weikart from Darwin to Hitler, when I referred to Darwin's own writing, The Descent of Man, in the very same book, on the very same page that I was quoting from, it further on goes and says, thus it was, whenever the European has trod, death seems to pursue the Aboriginal. Europeans were the agents of evolution. So let's not pretend Darwinism has nothing to do with the colonial project, when there are many, many historians who referred to this. Now, I gave 2 examples and I'll reiterate them because they're popular books. Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, the Zionist historian, Weikart's book from Darwin. It's true. What's your name again?
Robert.
What Robert said is 100% true, that Darwin refuted polygenesis.
Wow.
I agree with you.
Hey.
However,
Yeah.
he moved from one racist camp to another
What?
because
wait.
he refuted polygenesis to go to monogenesis, but in his monogenesis model, humans evolved in a way that the chimpanzees and the primates were closer to black people than they were to Caucasians. And that is a fact that he omitted. So he lied by omission. So the fact that you find amongst Darwinists is this, they will give you part of the history without giving you the full picture. Now, I want you to stick to this point. Darwin refuted polygenesis, but he came to monogenesis, and the picture I showed you that was made by Ernst Haeckel is a picture that Darwin himself endorsed. So let's stick to that point. Monogenesis model of Darwinism is still a racist model. Carry on.
Exactly. So
Carry on.
Add a small caveat, and you can come back.
Can you connect this to the Islamic view of anthropology? Like, why was Adam so tall and all that?
Yeah, we're going to come to that. I'm going to respond to that very quickly.
Okay.
So clearly, Rob has presented his case. He read from his paper, which is published, but clearly he's missing out facts that were clarified by Sabur. That Darwin, even though he jumped from polygenesis to monogenesis, he was still a racist. He was still not the noble man.
Oh, do you want your phone?
He was still not the noble man. Rob is trying to claim he was. Okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen, what did Darwin actually mean if he was a proponent of monogenesis, as Rob claimed? What does he actually mean when in Descent of Man, Darwin is saying that white race is more developed? It is more developed than non-white races. Okay, it doesn't matter how you word it. This concept in itself is a racist concept. Darwin gave it the name, the endorsement of science, while previously there were some philosophers of the 18th century who may have held these views without any science backing. Darwin gave racism science, and this is the backing. These are the words, these are the ideas that were used by white European colonial powers to brutalize, subdue, enslave Africans, Asians, and Latin Americans. Okay, this is the reality. This is what historians, what Rob read to you, okay, missed out many important facts. Coming to Adam.
Yes.
Adam was created in those dimensions in the heavens.
Okay.
Wait. Wait, be quiet. There is no report that states that when he was on earth, he was those dimensions. That's the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, sorry, can I add one more thing? Because I want to stick with everything to do with references. Another reference I'm going to give is a study from Sheffield University which showed that Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection justified white male superiority. There is abundance evidence for this in The Descent of Man, and even today with historians like Richard Weikart. So what you're doing is you're denying the historical account and the biological account.
What's the name of the book? From Darwin to Hitler.
From Darwin to Hitler by Richard Weikart.
The book, you can go read it. Darwin to Hitler. Richard Whiteheart.
But that is not connected to the vast amount of studies that are published, like Robert Livingstone, in regards to the Hitler cause of a misunderstanding of Darwinism, and Desmond and Moore's Darwin's Sacred Cause book, and all the others. Now, what I'm interested to know...
In Descent of Man. I have one question.
No, not just Descent of Man.
In Descent of Man, did Darwin say the white race is more developed than the non-white race?
He is quoting the polygenesis in that context.
Okay, so that's not his view.
That's not his view.
In Descent of Man.
That's not his view because Desmond and Moore found letters and correspondences.
Forget that. In the book, in his published book, did he write the white race is more developed?
He did.
That doesn't make it an infallible statement on Darwin's point.
But that's his statement.
No.
Infallible or fallible?
He's quoting, and then he clarifies in later letters that were discovered. And that's the point.
That I was a racist, I'm no more.
That was the point of that particular work that I cited from. Now,
you can speak now. You can speak now.
My question.
You're not helping. You have no contribution in other than disturbance. So get out, please.
I am making sure that your large
You're just being a kid. You're a 10 year. Are you 10 years old? Are you 10?
You're interrupting.
Or maybe 7.
You don't have any
Maybe
manners,
7.
Adnan.
Maybe the IQ of 7.
Okay. My question is, explain to me as a Muslim. I want to be in your shoes. Obviously, as a Christian and in the science context, but not an anthropologist, I can step into the shoes. That context that I shared a moment ago,
sure,
right, about the 4 rivers, all that stuff. I'm interested to know what you would do if you were discussing with, say, a scientist of that particular field.
Yes.
Your model of Adam you're saying he originally was 60, what, cubits or 60 feet?
When he was made.
Is it the cubit measurement or
Cubit.
feet? Okay, cubit.
In English, dira, which can be cubit. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you're saying there's a reduction in height, but you don't know the height when he comes on Earth.
No.
Okay. Is there any answer? Is there any mechanism as to how that reduction happens?
First of all, we as Muslims do not use science as the last say on our theology, or because science is naturalistic by default, right? By outlook, right?
And by the way, just quickly, I want to say this is how we can build bridges.
Yes.
I'm here to build bridges.
Yeah.
All right?
And Christians, Jews, and Muslims believe in the supernatural.
Yes.
Okay. So the question of God, question of miraculous events, question of things happening beyond nature, for example,
Yes.
are not questions of science. Angels are not a question of science. Jinns, miracles, okay, God's existence is not a question of science. Science has nothing to say on God, on miracles, angels, on supernatural occurrences, or you getting messages in your dreams. For example, a true dream. You have a dream and it transpires. It happens. Science has nothing to say on that. This is not what do you call it?
Can I? No. Okay. I understand your point.
Okay.
Can I an analogy with my field of research, like say the moon's formation event?
Yeah. You can.
As a Muslim, do you believe?
Okay, wait 1 second. Before you do that, one thing I do want to say is, before we move into Adam alayhi salam, if you are going to discuss something with someone fundamentally disingenuous, but did not admit it and wanted to move away, because what? No. Okay, one question. Just one question. Just one question.
I'm not changing my mind.
Okay, just one question. You defended Darwin, rightly so. He refuted the polygenic view of evolution.
And you agreed with me.
I agreed.
Yes.
But where I disagreed with you,
that's true.
One second.
Monogenesis means it's not racist.
Okay, 1 second.
Yes, it does.
Then the monogenic view you presented as if it means all races are equal, which is not true. And I want to add one more thing, which is very clear. Darwin in his writings was a racist. Not only did he support the racial hierarchy, his son here in London was the president of the Eugenics Society. Let me remind everyone what eugenics is. Eugenics is when you take the superior white race and the people with the pure genes and you kill off. He knows it. Okay, he knows it. Okay, 1 second. Okay, one second. My issue with what you've been doing so far is you have been disingenuous by, and let me just say one thing. You have lied repeatedly by omission.
No.
Because you've said certain things which are correct.
Quoting the book.
Because Darwin was against slavery, but it doesn't mean he was not a racist. Because he was a racist. He was a racist. And one last thing. Today, as it currently stands, anybody can walk down the road and you will go to Waterstones, you'll get that very popular book Sapiens written by Yuval Noah Harari, and you will see in that book he admits that there has been a scientific cover-up of the link between Darwin's racism and what Hitler did, and this is what this man is also adding to by lying by omission. Carry on.
Then what I'll do is
I think we're going to conclude now.
Okay. I'm going to bring up, this is just a point about the future. I'll bring up a panel of anthropologists with Joshua Moritz as the interlocutor, and let's see who agrees with what you have to say.
More than happy. More than happy.
Now, wait. No. Wait, 1 second. When you brought up science, right? Like Islam has nothing about science and so on. And I understand what you mean.
No, I didn't say that.
No. Okay, let me read.
Hello, wait. Don't read your ideas into my words, please.
You're talking about the supernatural.
Yes.
And science.
There are supernatural claims in the Quran, in the Bible.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Those claims don't need science to support those claims.
Okay, but wait.
Because they are supernatural claims.
Wait. We have what's called in the, let's just say in Christianity we call it the Book of Nature. Nature as an elegant book. It's one of the it's in the Belgian Confession.
Yeah.
All right. Interestingly, we can actually develop a whole model with respect to how, say, the moon formed. The Earth is 4.56 billion years old. The moon is 4.4 billion years old.
That's science, right?
That's science based on the models to explain
But science has
how the moon forms.
You can never
how there's
explain.
Earth's material on the
You
moon.
can never explain the supernatural by using science.
Wait.
You can never do that.
What I'm saying is,
You can point to it.
what I'm saying is, we live in a very physical world.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
When we go to the moon, we find potentially isotopic evidence of Earth's life from Luca on the moon.
We live in a physical world.
Wait. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Wait, one second. You made a statement which is patently false.
It is true.
You said we have evidence of Luca on the moon?
Yes.
No, we do not.
Yes, we do.
Do you know why? Because we don't even know if there was Luca even existed, or if there's multiple Lucas. We don't know
We are
that.
going back to the moon because there's isotopic evidence
Of Luca.
of a type of Luca on
No,
the moon
no,
with respect to late
no.
heavy bombardment period.
You're going to have to explain this. There's no evidence
Look
for
it
this.
up. Look it up.
Go on.
But with respect to
Wait, one second.
Wait on. With respect to Theia smacking into proto-Earth, moon collision event. Earth was once upon a time 2.5 hours per day.
Listen.
Wait, one second.
slowly
One
comes-
second.
all of these
One
gymnastics.
second.
Wait,
all of
it's
these
not
scientific
gymnastics, it's science.
One second.
Yes,
One second.
scientific
One second.
gymnastics.
Adnan.
It's not science
Adnan.
gymnastics.
You don't need
Wait.
this to explain
It's not-
theology.
I'm willing to be your student, and I'm going to be quiet. I just want you to justify something. Justify the existence of Luca and Luca's remnants being on the moon, please.
So, we know that life starts just after the moon collision event 4.4 billion years ago. We have what's called the Young-Sung paradox.
Right.
All right? During that period, you have spikes of potential life. We're talking pre-prokaryotic sort of type of, no, I wouldn't call it life, but it's basically building blocks that are there to bring about prokaryotes. And with respect to bombardments that smack into the Earth in that period, we have models to demonstrate that the moon is close enough with a 2.5-hour rotating Earth that when you have further meteorites hitting the Earth, you have ejection of material that will hit the moon. When we went to the moon, we are noticing Earth soil on the moon, basically. The question is, there's a potential for basically tons of Earth, a type of Luca form of life on the moon. So then our next,
You didn't even justify what Luca, if Luca existed.
You can look this up.
You didn't
that
justify.
They're going back to the moon to answer that question.
Okay, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to slow down.
Wait,
We're gonna slow.
I was originally
Before
making
you
a-
justify
I was originally making a point with respect to what you're saying.
Okay, just before that. No, but you made a patently false statement.
I am
You made a
going to
patently
finish my
false
point.
statement.
I am going to
Because
finish
you
my
make
point.
you got caught
I
out
am
on the
going
Darwin
to
racist
finish
thing.
my point
Now you're going to
in
get caught out on
regards to the
Luca.
scientific method
Okay, wait a
of
second.
how we know
Wait,
about
wait.
things
You
in
said
natural history.
You said Luca. Do you know what Luca is? Would you like to know? I would like to know. So tell us when Luca existed and how do you know Luca did exist?
I know.
How do you know there was one origin?
I know they attribute a
we
gospel
know
to him.
we can give a specific.
I know they attribute
we
a
can
gospel to
visit-
him.
We can give a specific date, dating date, 3.825 billion years
Listen,
ago.
where we going
Is
with
the-
this?
is
Okay, where we
the
going with